Hello and welcome to the Richness of. Today is our first interview with Dana Brown, and our theme today is the richness of movement. And I think it is a spectacular theme to start your year, right? Because a lot of how we feel, which Dana is going to tell us about, is about our movement and how we kind of carry ourselves so that we can really live a really good and rich life. So with us today is Dana Brown.
Hello.
Beeline Fitness. Dana, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Sylvia. Nice to be here.
Great to have you. And I know that I personally have been one of your movement students for many, many years, and I love what you do. I think you are incredibly talented.
Thank you.
And motivating.
Thank you.
And I could say it definitely works because every time I'm in the studio, I find a lot of positivity, a lot of your energy is great. So tell us a little bit about movement. What does it do for you? Why is it so important?
Right. Well, first of all, you are such a good advocate, and you're really good about taking care of yourself. And I know that you're really busy, so it's important that you just understand the value of taking care of yourself, and that's huge. So at my studio, what's most important for me is creating like a haven, a space where people can come and just forget about everything going on in the world, because we all have super busy lives. We're being, pulled in a million different directions all the time. So just having a place where you can come and forget about all that and rejuvenate and take care of yourself and feel better about yourself, it's just huge. It goes far beyond the actual physical workout, right?
No, I agree. I know that every time I leave, sometimes it's hard to get there, right? Because you start to think of things you have to do. Mm-hmm. But I know that every time I leave, I wonder, why did I even question, right, going? I feel so good.
Right.
So what do you suggest in terms of motivating yourself, getting yourself commitment to movement?
Yeah, I think that a lot of people don't even realize how much better they can feel if they just put the time in to actually moving their bodies on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. But getting into it can be really overwhelming. If you haven't been exercising, or a lot of people take time off when they have children, their lives change and their bodies change and their lifestyles change. And so it can be really intimidating and overwhelming to get back into a routine, really at any stage in life. But the best thing you can do is start off small. Ask yourself, like you say, what do you want? Create goals for yourself. And then figure out ways to make that happen. Try new things. Figure out what forms of exercise you like, because truly at the end of the day, that's what you're going to stick with, right? If you try exercise routines that you don't like, you're not going to stick to it on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. So for you, how do you find that, finding forms of exercise is the way that you stick with it?
I do. I mean, I've found that different classes, right, depending on, what I'm trying to work on, really help. But I think variety helps too, right? Mm-hmm. I feel like when I do the same thing all the time, I feel a little stagnant. I think when I try something new, and you offer in your studio a lot of new classes, a lot of alternatives, I think it really helps.
Right. I've been involved in fitness my whole adult life, and I've transformed myself, and my methods have changed as I've transformed and grown as a trainer and an instructor, and now Pilates teacher and studio owner. And so I think that, even for myself going into it, originally it was for the wrong reasons. It was for aesthetic reasons. I wanted to look a certain way. And I think a lot of people exercise for that reason, because they're not happy with the way their bodies look, because of the ideas that society puts on us, how we're supposed to look a certain way. And it's just a lot of pressure. People want to feel good in their bodies, but there's a lot of pressure to look a certain way, and some people it's just not achievable. So the best thing to do is to love yourself, which is such a hard thing to do, right? It takes a lot of time.
And patience.
Yes, and patience.
And consistency.
And consistency, that's huge, yes. But do forms of exercise that feel good in your body. If you're trying to change, a lot of times people will work too hard and you think, I need to run and burn a ton of calories so I can burn fat. But really, that could affect your cortisol levels, and then it makes it harder for you to lose fat, and it can really affect your metabolism. So when you find the right methods of exercise, the right combination that feel good in your body, then you've arrived. Then you reach your goals.
I mean, I'm so happy that you're here. And when I think of the richness of and trying to improve our lives, I really do think that exercising and movement really enriches, right? And we've talked about it. It's not even just the body, it's what happens with the mind, right? Mentally, how it kind of alleviates stress and really kind of gets you in a more positive and I think almost optimistic frame of mind.
Yes, absolutely. We store so much emotional and mental stress physically, and by moving your body, not only do you regulate your, see, I'm moving my shoulders now,
right.
Not only do you regulate your nervous system, but it just helps to, make all of your systems work in place. It helps your digestive system, it helps you sleep, it helps with your confidence. When you walk into a room and you feel good about yourself, you stand taller. And so it just affects really every single aspect of your life.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I was just recently in California, and I was at a hotel and had a lovely workout facility. And I see this woman come out, and she looked phenomenal. I mean, she was just, really well put together. And we start chatting, and we totally hit it off. And of course, I can't help but ask, because she's talking about working out, how old she was. And she said she was 75. And I could not believe it, because she looked phenomenal. And I asked her what the secret was. And she said the secret is move it or lose it. So she said since she was in her early 20s, she did some form of exercise almost every single day of her life, something.
That's amazing. That's so awesome. And we've always known that exercise is helpful for so many reasons, but the most recent studies are showing that lean muscle mass is the key to fixing and avoiding most disease. Just maintaining your lean muscle mass as you get older, it's invaluable.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
And I remember you telling me something too about breathing, how important the breathing is when you're exercising. Can you share?
Gosh, yes. So core strength, everybody's looking to improve their core strength. So most of us are not breathing properly. We do a lot of short, shallow breathing. But when you really focus in and fully deep breathe, so as you inhale, your diaphragm actually lengthens. And as you exhale, it puts pressure on your pelvic floor muscles and allows you to contract deeper. So the more you exhale, the better you're able to, or the deeper you're able to contract. And it's something that's really overlooked in the fitness industry as a whole. That, if we just really focus in on the breathing while you're driving, while you're doing anything, working at your computer, you can really help to improve your strength, your posture, your confidence, your lung capacity. So yeah, breathing is huge.
It is. And so many times we are sitting right at our computers for hours on end. So, what recommendation do you have for those of us that are sitting at a computer for our work in terms of the breathing, the trying to get up and move? What are your thoughts around that?
Oh, such a great question, because our modern society is not good for our physical bodies. We're mammals. We're supposed to be out gathering and hunting and moving all the time. So sitting is actually the worst position you can be in for your hip flexors. It shortens them. We store a lot of tension there anyway. But when you're sitting, they're shortened, and they can become out of alignment, which throws off our backs and affects everything. So when your pelvis is out of alignment, it affects everything. So my advice is to get up. Stand up once in a while, set an alarm on your phone, or even on your smartwatch, right? You can set an alarm so that it reminds you to stand up once in a while. But that being said, when you are sitting, there are some things you can do. One is sitting up straight, as opposed to crossing your legs. Just make sure you're sitting up straight, high on your sits bones, and not slouching over, creating more space between your ribs and your hips, which is also really good for your organs. It goes back to the breathing. Sitting up tall and bringing fresh oxygen in just helps everything function better.
Okay.
Yeah, right? Yeah, so
Feeling
sitting
better
up straight.
already.
Yeah, and doing little twists now and then, just keeping things moving. You don't want to stay still for too long. Your spine is meant to move in extension and flexion and rotation. There's also so many great yoga chairs and different office furniture that's available now.
Yes.
Right, desks that you can lift up so you can stand.
Yes. What do you think of the stand-up desks?
Oh, I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just got one, and I actually like it. I do feel like, okay, keeping my posture and staying very straight. And I almost want to do a little exercise sometimes while I'm even standing there with like leg lifts or something.
You should. You can take your feet out wide and do plies, and maybe even put on some ankle weights and do little leg lifts here and there, and take all those ideas you've learned in class, and yeah.
That's a great idea. It really is.
Yeah. I often, when I'm meeting someone new who's just starting out exercising for the first time, and it's so overwhelming, and an hour can be a long time to dedicate. So even just doing little like fitness snacks throughout the day, little 5-minute workouts here and there. So if you're working from home and you're literally at your computer for 10 hours, getting up and doing a little 5-minute workout, anything, push-ups, squats, lunges, anything just to get your blood flowing.
That is a really good idea. I like that.
Yeah, little fitness snacks.
So how many fitness snacks?
It all adds up throughout the day.
Yeah. So how many a day do you recommend?
Oh, well, 1 is better than 0.
Right.
2 is better than 1. 3 is better than 2. So truthfully, like small steps, and then just work your way up. Ideally, in a perfect world, we would all exercise at least 30 minutes each day. Personally, I think it should be more, but it's a good place to start.
Right.
So look at it in terms of that. So if you do 5 little fitness snacks throughout the day, that's 6 snacks. That's doable.
That is completely doable.
Right?
That is completely. And you know, one of the things I find, when somebody's trying to implement a new workout regimen, or at the beginning of the year you have all these workout goals. What I find though is that people say, oh well, I tried it, I didn't see much of a change, or we are all looking for quick results, right? And I found that I'm guilty of that as well. So how do we?
We all are.
I know.
Yes.
I know. How long do we really, stick with it, so that we kind of create this habit and not think that it's going to just change overnight? Because it takes a time, right?
It does. You don't see a difference in a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Joseph Pilates had a saying: in 10 sessions, you feel the difference. In 20 sessions, you see the difference. In 30 sessions, you have a whole new body. So it's really just a matter of getting through those first few months, like even 3 months, where it doesn't feel good and you're still pushing yourself to do it. But after that 12-week period, typically is when you really start to see a big change in how you feel.
Right.
Because that's what it's all about. It's how you feel.
It is.
And the way you look is just a side effect.
It is. I think of Tony Robbins. I was watching something of his the other day, and it was so funny because he's all about just do it, right? You can have all the ideas and everything in the world, but if you're not taking action, right, you're never going to have the results.
Right.
And I think, again, beginning of new year, right, a new beginning, a new regimen, and I think with the working out, right, is the incorporating it into your life. There's also a book out, and I love that it talked about, like doing something like you said, 90 days. It takes 90 days to get it established or, ingrained in your, frontal cortex.
Yeah.
Right? So it takes time. And patience with yourself.
Patience and consistency, and getting into it for the right reasons. If you just are trying to change the way your body looks, and you're only doing that through exercise and diet by restricting your diet, some resentment is going to build up because you can't really live like that forever, right? But if you're doing it for the right reasons, where you want to eat well because you want to nourish your body, because you want to feel good in your body, and you want to have energy, and you don't want to put bad chemicals and preservatives in your body. You're eating for that reason. You're eating well for that reason.
Right.
And you're staying well hydrated because you know the importance of that for all the proper function in your body. And you're getting enough sleep, and you're exercising consistently. Your body's going to change because you've changed, right? So that's, in my experience, when I see the transformations in people, the people that see the most transformations are the ones that are looking at it from a whole perspective, not just a piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And with you, I've noticed too, like your body has transitioned depending on, what exercises you focused on.
Yeah.
So what can you tell us about that?
Yes. Well, like we were saying a little bit earlier, my perspective has changed so much and evolved, I think, throughout the years. When I was a trainer in my 20s and my 30s, I did a lot of kickboxing and step and pump and running on the treadmill, and just I was personally always trying to like lose 5 pounds and just sculpt myself a little bit differently. Yeah. But in retrospect, I was overtraining. My cortisol levels were probably through the roof because I was exercising so much, and then I was burning so many calories that I was compensating and overeating afterwards.
Right.
Yeah. So what really changed for me, the turning point, was in 2005, I got certified to teach body flow, which was a combination of yoga, Pilates, and Tai Chi. And that just opened my mind to a whole new perspective, away from the whole scientific, like exercise physiology and fitness as an industry. It really should just be a way of life. So once I did that and I started to practice yoga myself, and then started doing Pilates, and then went through my yoga training, Pilates certification, my body completely changed because I started to honor the way I feel.
Right.
And I think just creating that really strong mind-body connection changed the way I look at eating, because I don't feel good if I eat poorly. Right. I'm not saying I don't. I love food. I love pizza. I'll eat food, but I try to eat foods that are more wholesome and natural, because that's what feels better in my body. So it really it always goes back to that, just looking at it from a whole well-being perspective. And I think that's why my body has changed a lot too.
Right.
I do things that feel good. When I was in my 30s and I was teaching weight training classes that were very high repetition, like 100 repetitions, 100 squats, 100 chest presses, 100 bicep curls. Right. And I was in my 30s, and I would wake up in the morning and feel so achy in my joints. I remember like walking down the stairs, like my knees, my hips.
So true. That's
so true. Yeah. And I don't have that now, which is interesting. Ironically, I exercise just as much. I'm pushing 50 now, and my body feels so good. My joints feel good because I do exercises that are healthy for me.
Yeah. Well, you look phenomenal.
Thank you. So do you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. But with that, and with turning 50 soon, and the changing of everything, I do find, and even I listen in your classes, the cueing has changed.
Really?
And I think that there's a lot of messaging, which I think is really brilliant, about here's the move, but listen to your body. If it doesn't feel right, don't do it. Or here's another way of doing it, which I think is, again, so important, because so many times we want to work out and we want to keep up and we want to do what everybody's doing, but if it's not serving you, right, you could potentially injure yourself, right, or you can turn yourself off to wanting to be there. But I think also making that connection, the exercise is important, but more important is how you feel. So making that connection, with your movement, the mind-body movement, right? So doing things that actually feel good in your body, I think it's a lesson that not only do we learn when we're working out, but we can bring that with our day, through our days, through our lives, right? It's a great lesson to listen to ourselves.
It's so true, yeah. I don't know if you notice on my mats, we have our little logo and it says never leave the mat, because it's a mindset. So you're right, I'm glad that you picked up on that in class, that the cueing is meant for you to create that better sense of mind-body connection, because we're disguising it with the workout. That's the fun part of it and the fun music, but it is, at the end of the day, just creating that strong connection and being present in your body.
Yes.
Right?
And I give you credit, right? Because it's not like everybody that shows up is at the same level. So you're really trying to imagine and create a class that accommodates a lot of different, right? Beginners, people that work out, And it
also
often
depends on what you have going on in your life that day, at that moment. Not every day is the same. You could feel really strong one day, and then have a really stressful day and not sleep well and not be hydrated and then feel really different in your body the next day.
Right.
So that's why in a class setting, I try to really break it down. So we start with one option, and when you feel comfortable and you can master that skill or whatever it is we're doing, then you can advance to the next one. But sometimes it just doesn't feel good to advance to the next one, so it's important that you stick to what feels good and you honor your body.
Right. And you don't judge, right? So many times we judge ourselves and we're like, what is wrong with you today? Why can't you do this, or why aren't you doing this? And what I'm trying to learn is to just find like the peaceful flow. It's, you know, it's okay. Like today is just, this is where I am today, and meet yourself where you are, and it's okay. Tomorrow will be a different day again.
Right.
So I think that that's part of the whole movement motion too, is not over pushing, right? But learning where you are and
Right.
meeting yourself where you are.
Right. And you're saying, talking about age and turning 50, and I work with mostly women, so perimenopausal, postmenopausal, and I love that our society, our culture is now addressing our cycles and our hormones, and we're adjusting workouts to accommodate that. I think it's important, you know, depending on where you are in your cycle,
Right.
hormonally. Some days you have a lot of energy and stamina, and other days it's better to do more mind-body restorative exercise. A long walk in the woods followed by some stretching.
I agree. So now, as we start to kind of wind down the show, and thank you, you've shared so much great information.
Oh, you're welcome.
But if we can share with our viewers like 2 or 3 things that like would be kind of big takeaways. How would you summarize all of what you're learning, what you're
Right.
teaching, what you're seeing?
You know, it's hard because people want to hear a quick fix answer, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
it's so frustrating, but the truth of the matter is the most important thing I think to get out of this, the richness of movement, is that you have to practice self-care and self-love and do it from address it from a place of self-love. Exercise because you want to feel good in your body, because you want to live a long, healthy life, because you want your lifestyle to be one that's full of energy and health and stamina. That's the most important thing.
That's great advice. And I was reflecting this morning as I was thinking about preparing for our show and talking to everybody and sharing, right, richness of movement, how my mindset has changed over the years, like tremendously. So I remember being younger and it was like, oh, a chore, like, oh, I have to get to the class, I have to do this. And now as I'm older, it's a privilege and it's like a gift, like, oh, I hope I have to fit it in, or how can I fit it in? So it's also how we think about it too, right? Because life is about how we think about something.
I get to work out.
Right.
I get to move.
It's a gift, right?
Yes.
It's a treat for me to work out.
It is, yeah. And people can look at it from a perspective like, you know, don't compare yourself to others, and, you know, just try to be a better version of yourself every day. Don't compare yourself to what anyone else is doing, or how they look, or where they are in their life.
I think that is a great way to kind of end this segment, and it's true. It's like, be yourself, be in your body, listen to what you need and do it the way you need to do it. And I think what you're saying too is, most of all, just be consistent, stick with it. Don't look for quick results. It happens over time. It's the journey, right? It's not in the destination. It's
right.
in the journey.
Make a choice that you're going to make yourself a priority.
Well, thank you, Dana.
You're
so
welcome,
wonderful
Sylvia.
to have you on the show.
This was really fun.
And I hope you'll come back and visit us soon.
Definitely. All right, thank you.
Thank you.